Well, hello and welcome to our Thursday rendezvous. Each week, I'm going to be talking to experts in the renovation, property, and design worlds, and I'm going to be asking the questions that you've been dying to ask. These are just short chats with the experts, bringing you the 411 in a way that we can all understand. So we're going to break it down for you. Strap in. Here we go. Hello, today I am joined by Kath owner, not just from, of Property Before Prada. And now Kath and I go back quite a way. We met actually through the gram, I think it was initially, but Kath provided a great article for my website around preparing for a bank loan, and we've been tight ever since. And oh man, we've gone through a lot. You've helped me through my recent refinancing of this home after my separation, which you did with such grace. You just completely understood my situation and guided me through that. And then since then, we've rocked out to Madonna and Bon Jovi together. So
we've covered a lot.
We have covered a lot. So great to have you here today. Thanks, Kath.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Now, this is great because this has got kind of flashback vibes to me, actually, this conversation, because I remember pretty much asking all of the questions I'm going to cover off with you today back when I was 21 and I was buying my own home, and my mum suggested to use a mortgage broker. And I was like, what the fuck are they? Do they work for the bank? How does it all work? So obviously a lot has changed since I was 21 buying my first home as it relates to the broking industry as a whole. But I think the questions have stood the test of time, and I want to run through those with you today. So let's kind of just go back to the start really and say, and for you to just tell us, what is a mortgage broker? What do you do?
Yeah. Lauren, I guess mortgage brokers, like, we are professional. So it's a professional service that we provide, offering multiple lenders to our clients. We've got qualifications that allow us to advise on mortgage products with all the different lenders. Now, depending on what broker you might see, anywhere between 30 and 60 lenders we've got qualifications and accreditations with. And the best thing, I guess, because people come to me and go, well, why would we use you when we can go to the bank ourselves? And that's probably one of the biggest questions. Like, why would we even use one? Because, you know, you got access on the internet now to just, you know, find the cheapest interest rate and things like that. But what we do is we provide that choice. We bring the 60 odd banks and we present them to you as the borrower and say, well, these are the options. And sometimes it's not just the rate. And people do get hung up on like an interest rate. It's more about what policies the different banks have. And that's what we bring, is this knowledge base of understanding a client's needs and saying, well, that bank there's not going to work for you and your bank won't be able to offer what you need. This is where you need to go. So it's options, it's choice, it's competition, and it's all brought to you rather than you wasting your time running around speaking to 10 different lenders, trying to find the right bank that will assist you. So that's what brokers do, essentially.
Great overview. I think that's key, that point around it's not just about the interest rate they're going to provide you, that there are so many other considerations when choosing the right loan for you. So, absolutely. And so how independent are you? Who's paying your wage?
Yeah, certainly. And again, this is something that we disclose up front in all of our compliance documents. We're paid by the bank. Now, it's really important to note that we're not owned by any bank. Our aggregator, and the aggregator that I work through, is Loan Market. They are a family-owned and run business. And that's a lot of the aggregators in the market at the moment are not. They are actually owned by the banks. We're not. We work for the customer. The borrower is our client. And then the banks pay us a commission. And they do pay different levels of commission. So one bank may pay more than another bank. My job as a broker is to provide my client with up to 5 different options. And that's giving my client the choice and giving them the opportunity of saying, Kath, we want to go with this lender. So it's not me going, well, that's the best lender, knowing in the back of my mind that that's where I get paid the most. It's about being fully transparent and giving options so that the client can make the right choice.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And what would be some tips for you around someone who's interviewing a broker or making a choice around a mortgage broker for them to get an understanding of the level of options that are going to be able to be provided to them?
Look, me personally, I would always want to make sure that I'm working with a broker that has experience. That's number one. So having that level of experience is so key, because that you're working with someone that's advising you on how to structure a loan, which is very, very important. Knowing the bank's policies is absolute key. And being able to, I guess, think outside the square box. And that's, something that's really important, to be able to think, okay, for you, this is going to be the right way to go, and not just, it's not a cookie cutter approach. Also looking at what lenders, how many lenders a broker has on the panel, how many do they actively work with? Right. I've got that information and that data on my fingertips, that if I get questions like that, I can go, great, these are my split of lenders that I put my business with. And there's generally a reason why that's the case. So they're the kinds of questions, their back end office, their support, and what they bring to the table. They're all things that I would be looking for if I'm to engage with a broker.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, let's go to the topic of applying for loans. And particularly, most of my homies following along are looking for homes to buy. So we'll be very interested in understanding what are the banks looking for these days in preparing for a loan, and even sort of what to expect when you're heading into that process, including as well how long it can take to get from woe to go. So,
it's right now, COVID has really, given us a curveball. The banks are really looking at how a borrower or client has gone through COVID. So when we're presenting a new application to the bank, there's a specific template, and a lot of banks do have templates with questions that we have to answer. And they're all related to the customer, their employment and income through COVID and the foreseeable future. So we've got to basically do a bit of a deep dive. And anyone that's looking to get funding for the next 6 to 12 months, there are some things that I would advise that you really want to know, understand, and be able to look out for and explain to the bank. The first thing is JobKeeper. So anyone that's on JobKeeper, we've got to get a good understanding of when it started, has it finished, is your role the same ongoing, how is that business that you're working for, how are they performing, do you have a job at the end of this? So that's the first thing that we've really got to look at. The next thing is superannuation. So many people have accessed their superannuation, and that is a red flag, because on one hand, you're accessing your super and saying you're in financial hardship, and on the other hand, you're saying that you want a loan and you're credit worthy. So those two things do not go hand in hand. So that is a red flag if you have accessed your superannuation. And if you have, you need to be able to explain to the bank how things have now changed and you're now no longer in financial hardship. So that's something to consider. And another thing is, if you've got an existing home loan, have you put that home loan on a repayment pause? Now, big thing at the moment, so many people have taken advantage of putting their home loan on a repayment pause, regardless if they needed to. They thought that the bank's offering it, so why not?
Yeah, exactly.
And it is biting everyone on the bum, big
Right.
time right now, because I've got clients coming to me wanting to now jump back into the market, but they've just finished a repayment pause, and I need to show the bank their history on their existing loans, and it actually says you're on a hardship pause. Now, how does that look to another bank?
Yeah.
They're going to come back and question it, and they'll decline your loan. So what the big thing here is, if you don't need to be on a repayment pause, you need to stop that immediately.
Yeah.
And they're the biggest flags to look out for at the moment. It's all relating to COVID. Now, if you're in a great position and and your financial situation is strong, it hasn't changed or it's improving, there are some things that we can do now to prepare you. So if you're looking for finance in the next 6 months, these are the things that I would check off. I would look at your Afterpay and Zip Pay, Zip Money, get rid of them all. Don't apply for them if you haven't already, because they really do reduce your credit scoring. They really do stuff it up. Reduce your credit card limits if you don't need it. Look at your 3 months worth of expenditure, and moving forward, just prepare in the back of your mind that everything that you're going to spend in the next few months, the bank's going to see it. So it's probably a time to rein it in. We've got to give those bank statements to the bank, and they will review it, and they will look at how you spend. So you don't want to be spending month to month. You want to make sure that your accounts are not overdrawn, your credit cards aren't over limit. These are the things that the bank will look for. And in terms of timing, Lauren, it's such a wide array of, timing at the moment. We've got some banks are like at 40 business days. And then we've got some banks that are running at 3 business days. So if you are in a time pause situation, you found the property, you want to jump in and get that pre-approval, we've got options. Won't be many options, but we've got some options to get it done quickly. I guess my advice would be, the sooner you want to get, your pre-approval started, the sooner the better. Just get it done, because you don't know how those timelines might shift.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. And you've perfectly segued onto my question around pre-approvals. What does that term actually mean, and how much confidence can that give you going in to purchase a home with that in your pocket?
Yeah, it's very interesting, because banks do pre-approvals differently. So some banks do them differently from others. So when I get a client a pre-approval, I make sure it's fully assessed. So it means that an application has been completed, all the supporting documents have been gathered, and it's sent through to the bank, and the bank's assessment team have actually reviewed it. They've come back to me and said, Kath, explain this, or we need that, or whatever the case may be. It's a fully assessed pre-approval. That's what I get my clients. However, big difference. Some banks offer what they call a pre-approval, and it's basically computer generated, not worth the piece of paper it's written on, because it's basically computer says yes, it goes through a few matrix and it spits out an answer. And that's not what you want. You want, when you're going into auction, you want to make sure that an assessor has reviewed your pre-approval. Now, there have been times when we have used that piece of paper pre-approval for certain circumstances when it's been okay. But if you've not applied for credit recently, the best thing that you can do is make sure that your pre-approval is watertight. You don't want to go and bid on an auction and then find out, oh my goodness, the bank, they actually didn't like my casual employment, or, there was something there that we didn't pick up. So,
and how does someone make sure it's watertight?
Well, we go through the whole process, and that's what we do. It's a full application. So, and that's when the bank comes back and they say, well, we've fully assessed your loan. And Kath, here's the pre-approval for your client. This is the maximum loan amount. We've done our due diligence. So the bank has done your credit check. they've checked the serviceability, they're happy with your conduct and your character, and they've given the tick. Now, the pre-approval is always subject to the bank valuing the property. So you can't ever get an unconditional approval, meaning you can just go out, find whatever property, and you're done. The bank will always send in their valuers. Now, there will be, and look, it's not common, but there could be a time when the valuation is not satisfactory to the bank. The bank has every right to pull out of that pre-approval. So it's not a formal approval. The bank always has the last say. And if they don't like, and we've had cases where there's been a shortfall in the valuation, so what happens? So we've got the option of the client kicking in more money, or we've got the option of taking them to another lender. So that's always going to be your risk. And it's not nice, you know, I mean, when you go into auction and it's not, you know, the bank's still got to do that valuation. And I guess that's why so many people like to go through like private sales, because at least they can put a finance clause on things which will protect them.
Absolutely.
You know, a shortfall in the valuation. So there's all these things. And as a broker, we're there to guide you and go, well, these are your risks. You know, and understanding that intimate process of what goes into this life-changing event. And that's what it is. And it's, you've been through it. I've been through it. It's an emotional roller coaster. If you're bidding it on an auction, or if you're buying your first home, or you're doing a development, there's always that emotion there.
Absolutely.
Scary. You triple question yourself. You need that hand holding. And those questions don't stop.
Exactly. No, I mean, I know that all too well. I coach people along in their buying process, and it does. It's such an emotional milestone. So being able to have someone to step away from it and just objectively help to gently guide is so critical. And also, you've just reinforced the point and why I'm such a big advocate of engaging a broker, because not only are you providing the options up front in terms of the choice, but also you're providing options when the shit hits the fan. You can really step in and say a bank, if you've gone through a bank doesn't like the property, a bank's not going to give you the money, then where do you go? So whereas you can jump back into your pool of lenders and look for other solutions. So,
and you know what, I know for me and my clients, I always like a backup plan, because absolutely shit does hit the fan. And there are some circumstances where there's not 5 options that I can give my clients. Sometimes I'm limited to one, and that is so uncomfortable for me. And it could be because of a client's particular circumstances. I like plan A, B, and C. And I'm very upfront. I don't sugarcoat things with my clients. And I think it's best that when you're going on this journey together, don't promise one thing and deliver something else. Now, I know things can go wrong along the way, but being open and honest, and I would be very open and honest when I'm dealing with my clients if they're in a situation where I don't have a backup plan, where they're so unique in their circumstances. I don't sugarcoat it and go, she'll be right. I'll be upfront and go, we don't have any other options. We have to give this the damn best crack we've got. So you need to work with me. We've got one shot at getting this approved, because I don't have a B and C. And I think it's really important to, I don't do that to scare my clients, but I do that so they know how important it is that we get this right. We're a team. We're going in, and I'm there presenting my client in the best way possible. And I want to get it done. I want to get the job done. I want to secure their funding. I want them to be happy. And them to achieve their goals. So there's a lot of prep work that goes on behind the scenes, and there's even a lot more that my clients will never see. You know, me ringing around, doing the research, doing the calls, doing the due diligence, just to make sure that when we put this in, it's not going to get rejected.
Yeah.
So these are the kinds of things that you need to be working with a broker. And that's going back to your first question about how do you choose your broker?
Yeah.
You know, that passion about getting the job done for the client. The client is number one. You've got to have that relationship where you feel confident that they've got your back.
Absolutely. Yep. Beautifully said. Thank you. Oh, we've covered so much today. This has been fantastic, incredibly practical, super relevant to so many people following along at home. So before I leave you, I have to ask, is it okay to buy Burberry before property?
No.
Is it just Prada, or is it the whole fancy end of High Point?
No. You know what? Priorities, okay? Get your home and your reward is a bag, shoes. It's just the order in which you do it.
I like it. That's it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Kath, for joining us today. And we will follow you. Oh, by the way, definitely jump over to Kath's Instagram, because she's building the most incredible Hamptons-inspired home in Black Rock. So, yes, other than all the finance advice that you provide, that is also something to really stalk. So, thanks, Kath.
Thanks so much.
Okay, see ya.